And that's the tea. Hey y'all, it's me, Bus Scout, and welcome back to Hot or Hot. Today, we'll be reviewing episode 4 of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 16. Our queens were challenged to make RuPaul laugh in the allegedly, backed by popular demand, RDR Live. Copied and pasted directly from All Stars 8. And the runway category was Night of 1,000 Chers. No wait, how did Mhi'ya do it?
I'm right.
So we'll be breaking all that down, plus covering some drama along the way from queens like Plasma, who's addressing the no more being a local girl comment that she made in Untucked last week, and Plain, who's addressing the she copied Jimbo controversy going on with her sketch this week. First up, and in the order they appeared on the runway this week, Xunami Muse, who in the challenge is playing the role of Branderson Cooper in the Countdown Till the End of the World news broadcast. And she here is co-hosting with Morphine, who's playing the role of Brandy Cohen. And I would say Xunami and Morphine did okay in this sketch together. They were in front of the camera and delivered their lines. There just weren't any extra layers in Xunami and Morphine's performance here that would have brought it to a more comedic place. And I think they both missed an opportunity to do more, but I wouldn't say either of them did bad, so I would give them both a warming up in the challenge. Concerning Xunami's runway though, oh my god. She's doing Cher's The Prisoner look from 1979. The reference itself is so iconic in pop culture and fashion, but to see this look done in completion in such great detail with the fairy wings and the butterfly in that hair and the beautiful crystal shard fabric pieces coming down in front of her. I mean, Xunami nailed this. Absolutely. It is not only a beautiful recreation, but she looks damn good in it. The only deviation Xunami has made in this outfit, which I think was a smart choice considering this is a for television look, was to put like a structured bodice underneath that is in a flesh tone color, which looks great and was necessary considering Cher had nothing underneath her outfit. Prisoner? I hardly know her. Xunami, this look is hot. And next up, we've got Morphine's Runway, who is doing Cher at the Academy Awards in 1988, which by the way was the year she won the Oscar for Best Actress in Moonstruck. I'm a an Oscar winner. Morphine as Cher here looks absolutely effing stunning. This is the best Morphine has looked the entire competition. Not only is she mugged down Muggiana, but she has this really beautiful, faithful hair on and a gorgeous jumpsuit that is really body yada yada-ing, and she looks fabulous in this. This is definitely hot. And now moving on to Mhi'ya, Iman, LePaige, who did a really great Kermit the Frog meets Cher impression for the judges this week that maybe was the highlight of the entire episode.
I'm right.
It absolutely eclipsed whatever bad she did in this challenge, but let's talk about it. She was a intoxicated news anchor reporting from where there appeared to be some sort of mass flooding. Her wig falls off, she's got her cup of mysterious intoxicating liquid, she's slurring her words. Like, she definitely, I think, was painting a picture, both with like the physical comedy of the wig falling off and how she was portraying everything. I do agree with the judges. Sure, there maybe could have been a few more layers, but she was at least doing something exciting in what was up until that point a pretty dry delivery from Xunami and Morphine. So I'm gonna say Mhi'ya was a little underrated here, and actually I'm gonna give her a very safe 3 flame. And over on the runway, Miss Mhi'ya is representing Cher from her press tour or red carpet tour of promoting burlesque in 2010. And more than anything, I've gotta say, I thought this was a really bizarre choice of outfit to recreate because, like, yes, Cher definitely has a thing with like black leather jackets. And I think like she nailed that aspect of what was going on here. But the outfit Cher was wearing, the base reference is relatively unremarkable compared to her absolutely enormous catalog of looks that could have been chosen from. Which did kind of make me wonder, did she actually choose this look or were the queens assigned looks? Either way though, for what really is a not very exciting look from Cher here, Mhi'ya, I think, did really well. She zhuzhed it up and added some sparkles and crystals and stoning in the top and the bottom part, and some metal detailing and studs on the jacket with some patches on the bag. And really the critiques she got for this look were centered around the hair, which isn't like that crazy big ultra draggy Cher hair that she often wears, but when you look at the reference photo, it's actually just as big or maybe even a little bigger than Chers. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Mhi'ya was a little underrated by the judges here too, and also give this a safe hot. And next up, grab your keys and start your engines. It's Geneva Karr. And she tells Ru going into this challenge that she thinks she's going to do well because memorizing things is something she used to do with the fruits and vegetables at a job she worked at. Anyways, in the challenge, she's playing the character of Lady G, who is supposed to be Lindsey Graham, but in drag, who we'll just say is very on the opposite side of the spectrum of politics when it comes to queer people and drag and all of that. With the joke here being it would take literally the end of the world to see this person in drag. And the concept for this character could have been really funny, but Geneva didn't know who this person was at all, I don't think. And so she finds out she should maybe be incorporating like a Southern accent into her impersonation. And it just turns into something that I think she completely lost control of or never had control of in the first place. And between her struggling with the accent and I think misplacing some of the delivery of some of the jokes, it was an all around confused mess. So I'm gonna give this performance a rot. And over on the runway, she's giving us Ringmaster Cher from the Ringling Brothers Circus in 1984. And this was actually a Cher look I had never seen before that I thought was so gorgeous on Cher. And not only is the base costume reference super great for something like the Drag Race runway, but I think Geneva did a pretty good job of hitting all the points that needed to be hit for it. She's got the hat, the big feathers on the arms, the red sequin costume, and I am very much getting that she was inspired by that Cher look. She deviated from it in the midriff and on the arms where she's chosen to cover herself in fabric instead of leaving those open like Cher originally did. And while I understand her choice to at least cover the midriff area because that's where a lot of awkward padding and pantyhose lines can sometimes happen in drag, I think at least not leaving the arms open was a mistake because Cher is so known for her revealing yet tasteful and beautiful costumes. But for all the nitpicking I'm doing, I've really got to say the wider idea of what she's doing here on the runway, I think is a very clean presentation and I think she looks good. So I'm gonna give this a. And next up, now you see her, now after this episode you don't. It's Mirage. Miss Mirage in the challenge is playing the role of host tonight, a role which she not only chose but fought for against Sapphira Cristal, which to me was a goof and a gag because obviously I think the host role was meant for a queen like Sapphira. She is that girl. Mirage is a lot of fun, but I don't think she has shown that same poise and control that someone like Sapphira could have brought to this role. So it was interesting, I think, to see the interaction play out in the workroom where they both are saying they want this role, and we ultimately see Sapphira just step down and in a confessional just kind of be like, well, if she wants it, she wants it. I know she's gonna fail. And the crazier thing about this whole situation was after Sapphira steps down, Mirage is almost shocked. She's like, wait, I don't know if I actually want this role. Like, she kind of sees what's happening and she's like, oh, so Icarus flew a little too close to the sun on this one, I think. And I'll say she was not bad as host. I think she just wasn't good. There was a palpable hesitancy in how she was delivering this hostess performance, like both in her body language, as the judges pointed out, and also in the way she was speaking. It was almost like she didn't know if the jokes were going to land. And if you're speaking like you don't know if the jokes are going to land, then it's going to probably not land. This performance is definitely a rot, but at least she looks gorgeous on stage. So there's that. And over on the runway, she's giving a Cher in concert in 1979. And this gown is, my God, what a gorgeous reference to pull from for Cher. The final look Mirage presents on the runway, though, does not quite reach the peaks of Cher-ness that it needed to. She tried to adapt this really showy but delicate and feminine gown into her self-claimed fashion. And ultimately the final result was just a tacky explosion of colors and strips of fabric and random beading on the top. I didn't really care that she didn't get the hair right for this outfit because the outfit itself was just so off base, I think, for Cher. So this look I'm gonna give a. And next up we got Megami and Plain Jane playing the roles of deck saleswomen. They're dumb, they're hot, they've got giant chesticles, and they're here to sell you something. Where Plain is playing out the very stilted, airy, and off planet Earth performance, and Megami is giving us the oohs and the ahs to emphasize the things that Jane is saying. And this sketch to me really was the first funny part of RDR Live in this episode, but it was also a very eye-roll moment because they get performances almost identical to the ones given by Jimbo and Jessica Wilde in All Stars 8 just a couple months ago, in a sketch that was basically a copy and paste from season to season. But that certainly wasn't either of these queens' fault because the two characters that all four of these queens are ultimately playing are based on characters from SNL, where Cecily Strong and Vanessa Bayer are playing these retired corn stars who are trying to get sponsored by the various products and things that they're selling in a kind of QVC style infomercial. And so really both pairs of queens did a great job of imitating ultimately the original. And while I don't think they brought anything new or fresh to the conversation of what was happening here, I would give them both points for their performance. And Plain Jane did actually address this over on Twitter after the episode aired, writing, "The way y'all love to discredit excellence, talents, and iconicism on here is just, for lack of a better word, disappointing. Do better and look at things objectively. Challenge level impossible." Where we see a fan replying back, "Can I ask a question though? I'm actually really enjoying you, and I think there's so much more to you than what's being shown. Can I ask about that skit? It was almost a carbon copy from All Stars 8. And Plain replied, "Yes, the skit was similar. RDR Live is a spoof of a spoof SNL, which also has recurring skits. People can say what they want to. I do me best, and I immediately recognize which character plays my brand and my strengths." Which is all true. They were hilarious. Plain's character was great, and she understood the assignment. Well, let's talk about Runways. Megami from this pair is giving us the Turn Back Time 2009 outfit, which is a gorgeous reference that was done super well. It was something I immediately recognized as a Cher costume, and I think adapted into Megami's drag in little ways that really made sense for her, that made it even more special. Like, for example, the way the boot is coming into that stocking garter thing to create a more seamless transition there, I thought was really smart for drag. The only thing that made me scratch my head, I was like, what are those crazy earrings she's wearing? This was too many accessories and in the wrong color. I think if it was black, like Cher's original earring, it could have worked, but it just kind of stood out in an awkward way. But I would still give this look a. And Plain, this lucky bitch, got maybe one of the most recognizable and iconic Cher looks of all time. This was her at the Met Gala in 1974. This is an iconic reference look, and Plain Jane here has done it wonderfully. It is such a beautiful homage to that Bob Mackie gown, and I think he would be proud. I don't think that's a stretch to say. I think he would be proud of whoever recreated this dress. Definitely gonna give this a. And next up, grab your briefcases. We've got a mandatory meeting. Who's playing herself as one of the news anchors of QNN and is reporting on all the relevant hot happenings of today's pop culture. And I've got to say, I was super impressed with the way Amanda handled this role. Her over-the-top too muchness is absolutely perfect for something like this. And I felt she was 100% comfortable and in charge of leading the news anchor co-duo of her and Dawn. And it was really the little things for me that got me, like when Dawn gave her the shady read for not being on the Forbes list again. Amanda has this moment where she's like chewing on her mouth, like looking angry and frustrated, and seeing everything she was laying down, I could tell that she was no stranger to a little theatrical production, so I'm gonna give this a. And her co-host Dawn also gave a good performance, but one that was ultimately, I think, very outshined by what Amanda was doing, and then doubly outshined with what Q did, but we'll get to that in a second. She just had a slight timidness, I think, especially in comparison with those other two, to her performance that felt a little flat. And there was like this feud between her and Amanda with these little shady reads that I thought Dawn could have really upped the bitchiness in her voice when she gave those reads to play a little bit better into the drama and drag of everything going on. But she did just fine. I'd give her a safe hot. But let's talk about these looks. Miss Amanda is giving us a recreation of the Cher doll outfit from 2001. Which I kind of had a mixed response to. Because on one hand, I'm like, wow, this is actually a really cool outfit to recreate. It's so Y2K. And actually, looking at the styling of this would have been a much better choice for someone like Mirage, considering her drag style. But I think the zoomed out effect of what Amanda is giving is acceptable here. Like, she did recreate the Cher look in a fairly faithful manner. But for me, it's the details when you zoom in on like the waist up. Like, there is just something particularly jarring about what's happening with her crazy over-the-top drag makeup and this flat banged Cher hair. Like this is such a crazy presentation. And I just wish she would have tried to do more of a Cher illusion with her makeup, because she really could have sold it to me if she had have. And there's also something awkward, I think, happening with the top part of the look riding up way too high. So yeah, waist up for me, it's not doing it. This is a rot from the top, but actually I would say a hot on the bottom. The mermaid skirt part of this dress garment is really pretty and I think well done, and she's serving that. And concerning Dawn's runway, I didn't really love this either. She's giving us mod Cher from 1966, and I do understand why someone like Dawn ended up with this as the Cher reference, because it fits into her brand. But the entire aesthetic just didn't come together for me in this look. There's another huge issue here with crazy drag makeup and super flat hair. And not just super flat hair, but where is the the bang from the reference look. But the bigger issue for me was really, I think, the proportions of everything going on. The original look is all about the giant, oversized, crazy coat, accentuating how, you know, tiny Cher is in comparison to it. And Dawn here made the choice to actually make the jacket smaller, which reads as less draggier and a little more pedestrian. Like, this is the JCPenney's version of the coat that the women would probably buy to be like, oh, I got the Cher coat. It's not right and it's not okay. This look for me is a... And next up we got Q, who's playing gay icon The Brick from Stonewall. And she comes in at the end of the news segment hosted by Dawn and Amanda to recount her story to the best of her ability about being a poor little innocent brick who was picked up and thrown into a window. And this was honestly such a fun character for the writers to put into this sketch. But I was shocked they didn't take the opportunity to put in some of the Derek Barry and Willem discourse that was happening about the brick from that one interview.
And people were... Nobody was.
But Q absolutely nailed this character. Like, she made a literal brick hilarious and not only delivered peaks, valleys, and comedy on multiple levels, but actually eclipsed everything that was happening between Dawn and Amanda prior. There's just an extra layer of control, comedy, camp, and experience, I think, ultimately, that made this an absolute standout for me tonight. Brick Squad represent, because this was and her runway tonight. Oh my God. I mean, what even can be said about what was done here besides this is a brilliant recreation of an amazing Cher reference, which was, by the way, from the Sunny and Cher Comedy Hour 1973. And this recreation was done in such a way that does so much justice to the original, but also looks so damn good on Q. No notes. This look was hot. And finally, we got Plasma, Nymphia, and Sapphira in the barbershop quartet. Now a tritet because one of them died of some disease, as Sapphira lets us know in the beginning of the sketch, which is basically made up of these three impersonating Barbra Streisand, all trying to out Barbara each other. And honestly, they all did so great. This was by far and large my favorite sketch from the entire thing, because there were just so many different levels and layers to everything the three queens did. Sapphira starts us off with these like real crazy eyes looking at everything and kind of out into space and doing all that gig. And then there was Nymphia singing in that crazy mumbled singing style, who actually was the first person in this entire sketch to have me not just have a chuckle or a hee hee or a ha ha, but actually have a good laugh about. And then Plasma coming in at the end to give a completely different and over-the-top Barbra Streisand impression, which apparently she was nervous about giving because she didn't want to offend Barbara, somebody she very obviously holds in high regard. But I'm gonna call conspiracy corner on that one because what she did in this, the impersonations, the eyes, the facial movement, everything about what she was doing felt so studied and calculated and perfected. Like, she very obviously has done some Barbra Streisand impressions in her past, and I think her doing all that with the oh I don't want to offend anybody tough was just her trying to cover her ass, which she didn't need to do because it was hilarious and I think not offensive at all. But these three queens absolutely killed it for me. I gave all three of them all 5 hot flames. But now let's take a look at their runways. Miss Plasma is giving us Cher at the Met Gala in 1985, and this is one of the more kind of dark, sultry ladies of Cher's look catalog, which I think is a really great choice in outfit to recreate for Cher, but maybe not one of the best for the Drag Race stage, especially when she hasn't done anything to transform the look and drag it up. She here is having the same problem that Amanda and Dawn both had with their crazy drag makeup next to this flat ass hair in a look that is like a good recreation of the original, but not better than and not something that is, you know, like a perfect homage. Like, this is just missing the attention to detail the original look had, like with that beautiful collar piece on the neck and the 80s poof sleeves, two things which really brought the whole style of everything happening together, which she missed in the recreation. So this look for me is gonna be a And now concerning the drama and controversy Miss Plasma found herself in on Twitter this week. Basically, a local queen named Jane Don't from Seattle called Plasma out for the comment she made in Untucked last week. Jane Don't wrote on Twitter, "This was really weird, lol. Quote, no more being a local girl." Wherein Untucked, Plasma said that and then did like a cheersing thing to all of them now being Rue girls. Okay, see y'all when you get booked to the bar with us. Which she followed up with several more tweets writing, "Don't come on here much anymore, but felt compelled by how goofy this moment was. I get that most people that get on the show probably feel this way to one degree or another, but oh boy, does it feel a little tactless to say it. Some of these girls might be back working their old gigs right after this anyway. Let's not pretend Drag Race is a golden ticket anymore. No shade to anybody, just think it's goofy to get an ego when we're all just doing poo poo pee pee haha wacka wacka." in nightclubs for a living. And Plasma later addressed the comment she made in Untucked on Twitter, writing, "Hi y'all, watching Untucked back and fully hearing how my toast sounds derogatory towards local performers. Totally not how I feel. I would be nothing without the NYC drag community, and I apologize if my words came across as a slight to any performer anywhere. Much love." So that's that. And Nymphia on the Runway is recreating Cher's Egyptian goddess for the Ain't Nobody's Business If I Do music video in 1979. And this, of course, is another beautiful reference Cher look, and one that I think is also a great choice for the Drag Race stage because of the crazy headdress she's got going on. And the reference photo they're showing next to Nymphia's look doesn't have the cape component that Nymphia has on hers, but in the original music video, that was something that was a part of the look flowing off the back of Cher's look. And Nymphia here, I think, has done an absolutely beautiful job in recreating this look. The only issue I had was with a little bit of awkwardness in the chest area. It is clear there's like a skin tone mismatch in the shade of fabric chosen to cover the chest. And while that is something that's really hard to do and predict, especially because the queens don't know the stage lighting and how it's gonna play on the different tones of their skin and fabrics, I will say that could have totally been mitigated by maybe doing a bigger version of that neck collar piece, which again, I want to point out was a really beautiful recreation. Like the attention to detail and the craftsmanship of like the embossing on the foil of the neck collar piece was incredible. And what I'm talking about here is a very small complaint, so I'm gonna give this look a hot. And finally, for Sapphira's Runway, which is an homage to the Cher Vegas residency look in 2017. And I just want to point out for anyone who may not be totally aware of Cher's legacy and iconicism, we are doing a night of 1,000 celebrity runway Cher here who has looks and who has been iconic since the 60s. We are now 60 years into the future and she is still relevant. That's crazy. Anyways, long live Cher and Sapphira Cristal, who did an amazing recreation of this look. All those crazy blue pheasant feathers coming off that giant beautiful neck piece that has that fabric training down. It's so gorgeous, and that all comes off and reveals to the dance costume underneath. Plus, picking a modern Cher look that doesn't rely so much on a bunch of cutouts and skin showing everywhere was really smart for somebody like Sapphira, who pads so heavily in her drag. The mesh illusion fabric really allowed her to do all the drag that she needed to do without anything looking awkward or non-Cher-like. This was hot. But now let's talk tops and bottoms. This, I will say, was a very close call personally between Q and Plasma. They both were absolute standouts in the challenge. However, I think Q's runway eclipsed Plasma's by leaps and bounds. And I actually think she beat Plasma by a hair in the challenge too. So it was really surprising to me to see them ultimately give the challenge win to Plasma, not Q. It felt very, let's recreate the Jan face crack moment and give the win to somebody who did great, but not to the person who, I don't know, to me, obviously deserved it. And the bottom three tonight are called out as Mhi'ya, Geneva, and Mirage, but I personally probably would have swapped Mhi'ya for either Xunami or Morphine. The final bottom two, though, of Geneva and Mirage absolutely made sense to me. That's who I thought needed to lip sync this week. And the lip sync they did was certainly a lip sync that I did react to over on my Patreon at patreon.com/BussyQueen. That's my members only website where my Patreon family gets exclusive member benefits like early access to my YouTube videos and access to exclusive videos like all of my reactions to Drag Race, which basically serve as a pre-show to Hot or Rot that you can get exclusively on my Patreon. And I would really love it if y'all would click the link in the description of my video and join my Patreon and help support my channel. It would really mean a lot, and I'd love to have your support. But concerning what happened in this lip sync, we saw Mirage flub on the words, even though she gave, I think, a better dancing performance, while Geneva gave a slightly less exciting but more comfortable and composed lip sync where she demonstrated she did indeed know all of the words. And so sort of a default win situation that goes to Geneva, which I absolutely agree with. I mean, we're in a show that has been going on for 16 years now, and one of the unspoken rules is you have to know the words of the song that you're lip syncing, and if you don't, RuPaul's not gonna be happy, especially when, God forbid, you don't know the lyrics to a Cher song. One of Ru's icons and idols. See, that was a huge fumble on Mirage's part and has one of the most heartbreaking eliminations I've seen in a while. I mean, she had a full crying breakdown on stage when Ru tells her to sashay away, which, like, honestly, that would be me. I'm such a crybaby with stuff, but I really did feel for her and was enjoying her presence on the season. I actually didn't feel like it was time for her to go, and I kind of think the judges didn't think that either. They probably just expected her to know the lyrics, and you know, so they put a pretty good performer up against somebody who was going into the bottom for their second time in a row. Anyways, let's get into our hottest hots. In the challenge this week, I'm gonna give it to Q, and on the runway, Plain Jane. And I also asked my patrons to vote on their hottest hots over at patreon.com/BussyQueen. And this week they've chosen Q on the runway and Plasma in the challenge. And I wanna say thanks so much to you for watching today's video and give an extra special shout out to Ashley Brungart, Child Free Mateau, Dorothy Hall, Felicia, Frankie, Laura, Matthew Burns, Stephen Topher, and Will and Tanner, who are all supporting me on Patreon at the Bussy Queen Collector tier. See you later. Love ya. Bye.